Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome to episode 22 of Bengals on the Brain. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry. The show is brought to you by First Star Logistics. And if you're not getting in on the next giveaway, it's a big Bengals neon sign. It would look pretty good right here. Tell them to send it my way, or in your game room, your man cave, your little area that you've got to watch the Bengals games, whatever you do. I think it would look good for anyone. Make sure you get into that. Again, your chances of winning these are better than any other contest you're going to get into because, you're one of a few thousand subscribers we got here. There'll be 6,000 people that may watch this show, averaging in that range, and only 2.5 thousand of you are subscribing. Well, hey, if you're one of the subscribers, so make sure you hit subscribe. That increases your odds when you do enter the contest, which make sure you do. You've got a great shot. Today's episode is the Bengals go into Arizona desperate for a win. Desperate, right? We not only would we like to see this offense come to life a little bit, maybe show signs of life, even get out of a game, similar to the Rams 1916, get out of it with a win with some signs of life, we would take that. But man, if they could come out of the shell completely and figure out what they need to be for the 2023 season, that would go a long way. It really does come down to if they can get a win this week, because you can't drop to 1-4. I don't think it could happen. The numbers are stacked against you. The Cardinals are playing well. They're going to give you a fight. Josh Dobbs is playing decent, man. He could have anyone could have had him at the end of the year. I don't think the Browns were trading with the Bengals, but he's playing well. He's finding himself fitting that offense with their good run game, play action explosives, and the defense that not great, but has been opportunistic so far, especially in the red zone. They're good against Dallas a couple weeks ago when I watched that one. They're going to give you a fight. We got a lot of questions, though. I put it up to people on Twitter, to my subscribers. If you're one of them, at Joe Goodberry, if you subscribe, you'll be able to hit the mailbag. Ask me questions anytime, really. But I put it out there for this episode because there's a lot of questions here. 4 weeks into the season, what do we do with this guy? Why are they doing this? What could they do? We're going to jump in right away and get to the questions. Leading us off with the questions, first one from Sacky Hack. I think that's a play on Hacky Sack. Either way, is it time to have a discussion about Mike Hilton? Now, Mike Hilton's been one of the better defenders on the Bengals defense since he joined the Bengals 3 years ago. And this year, with losing Von Bell, Jesse Bates, we could see he's been a more of a communicative leader, helping everyone out, getting guys set, making adjustments on a defense that has had some issues so far. So I think this question derives from he's grading really, really low with PFF. Amongst all corners, he's in the bottom 5. He's got a 39 overall grade. Plus, he's been beaten for some big plays. And this probably goes back to the Chiefs AFC Championship game, where the Chiefs looked like they targeted Mike Hilton, put Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the slot with a little bit of speed, and just outran Hilton as much as you could. And listen, Hilton's never been a great man cover guy. He's never been the most athletic or the fastest guy. He's always won because he reads plays really well. He's physical, fearless, and can play the run and blitz and do all these extra things that you don't always get from corners. But is the conversation, what's the longevity look like? He's under contract for 1 more year. He's 29 and a half years old right now, so he'll be 30 next year. He's allowing 13 yards per catch, which is a much higher average than he's usually in the 10 range, which is perfectly fine. He's allowing less completion percentage this year. He is missing, so far, 40% of his tackle attempts. He has 8 misses already, and he had 9 all of last year. If he can't tackle, and I think that's the thing. Like, we know who he is physically and in coverage. But if you're not getting that bonus as a run defender, if you're not getting that bonus as a tackler, and we're still having communication issues, then yeah, maybe that is time to have a conversation. And that leads right into the next question from Ben Washburn. Could we split his snaps, move him to safety? Could Dax Hill, DJ Turner, Jalen Davis all get more of the rotation? Yeah, I think there is already a rotation there and already an idea that you can put him at safety. In fact, PFF lists Mike Hilton as a safety right now. He's only played, I think, his 4 snaps at corner this year by their definition, which means outside corner. He's been in the slot mostly, but he has played actual safety snaps. We diagrammed that a couple times already on Bengals on the Brain. So make sure you don't miss an episode or you may not see that. But yeah, I do think they could do that with how much Dax is playing the slot, with how much DJ Turner is playing the slot. They're getting all their corners out there. They're trying to keep Mike Hilton from being picked on in those situations. So I do think we'll see a rotation. Even Jalen Davis got in and was able to make a play against the Rams on Monday night. Maybe we see him get more snaps. That's a guy they like, but he's also a guy that's very similar to Hilton, small, not the most athletic. So I don't know if you get a bonus there at all. I'm not ready to bench Hilton just yet because, I mean, we're talking about everyone on the team is not playing up to standard. Well, not everyone, but a lot of guys. Most of these guys are not playing up to our expectations. Let's give them some time. Let's see if it all comes together as a unit and everyone turns it around together. Next question. This one from Jake R. J. Robitty. What is the Bengals' best option for running 12 personnel going forward? And yes, is that with an extra tight end or a sixth lineman? What is it? And 12 personnel, if you don't know, means 2 tight ends. So the first number in any type of number personnel is the running back. So here's 1, and 2 tight ends would be 2. So 12. 1 running back, 2 tight ends is 12 personnel. And it's really the way to off balance defenses that are really stuck on your 3 wide receiver sets and not letting you get anything over the top. If you go out there in 12 personnel, you're forcing them to cover up one of your tight ends. You're forcing them to hopefully give a safety to one of those tight ends. If you have a good tight end, they're going to want to cover them with a safety rather than a linebacker who you'll just pick apart, right? Unless they got some freak linebacker. But point stands, you can run better out of that. You can use a lot more variation. You can split those tight ends out, and now you're 4 wide if they're good enough. The Bengals struggles with why they can't go more 12 personnel is their tight ends stink. I mean, Irv Smith hasn't been healthy. We hope he can be a contributor and a solid player. Tanner Hudson's shown some ability, but he's still a practice squad type tight end. Drew Sample is playing probably the best he's ever played, but he's still Drew Sample. He's still screwing up on routes. He's still, slow. He's not going to get much after the catch most of the time. And then Mitch Wilcox, we showed the one play where Burrow just bypasses him and skips over him. So you gotta get better talent out there. What else can you do? Can you use a running back in that spot? And the Bengals would use Pirine once in a while and bring him up to the line and have him block at the line. If you remember the final touchdown against to T. Higgins against the Cowboys, where he's blocking Micah Parsons one-on-one, they motioned him and put him on the line to block and do that. But they also will use a extra offensive lineman jumbo package and run out of it. And they did last year, but they only did it from under center. So that's why we haven't seen it yet. Is they like to do that when like it's obvious, let's set the tone, let's get the run game going, or let's kill the clock before the half or at the end of a game. And the Bengals haven't been able to go under center, so they haven't been able to get to those. And I blame personnel a little bit, the personnel department, on not going and getting a good enough tight end, not treating the number 2 and 3 tight end like a valuable position, not treating number 4 tight end like a valuable position. They held a roster spot for Mitch Wilcox all summer while he was recovering. I mean, he's Mitch Wilcox. What are we worried about? Anyways, not to get too crazy on this, but they haven't treated tight end like a valuable position, and now they're stuck with what they have, and they can't even go to the secondary option of playing 12 personnel. But I do think an extra offensive lineman would help in a lot of ways. You can run out of it. Yeah, you're not going to get that safety to come down and cover that extra lineman. Whatever. Let's run out of it and see if we can get 6, 7, 8 yards rather than 4. And then maybe we can build some play action off of it and get these guys open on the outside. So good question. I would like to see more 12 personnel. If it's not this year, they have to make an effort to try and make it a viable option in this playbook. The next question is from Eric at the Cincy Cat, and he has a question about the pistol formation. Should the Bengals use it more? Why don't they use it more? And do I even advise they should do it? And can they do this quickly? Could they install it quickly? So the pistol, if you don't know, it's not like the shotgun where you're, 7 or so yards back. The pistol's more like 4 yards back from the center, and you can have a running back right behind you, which allows you, in theory, and a lot of coaches do it this way, to get different run schemes involved out of the shotgun. And you can do different play actions. You can you can get more drops out of the pistol. I was going to say you can move the pocket, you can, but you can get deeper drops out of the pistol and get your quarterback's footwork involved. So I think that maybe the part the Bengals want to avoid a little bit is more footwork on Joe Burrow. But I do think you're right that if they added it, and they have used it, they created their big play, the fake pitch to Chase Brown, and then hit Jamar Chase in the Monday night game against the Rams. They used it again this past week against the Titans. I do think they want to get to it a little bit more. It gives them more options from the shotgun. It's something they probably should have been installing right away as soon as Burrow got hurt, and they knew they were just going to run it out of shotgun for a while once he got back and got healthy. But it does help your angle for like wide zone running. And I think that's why teams do it. And the Bengals would like to have that in their arsenal. So, yeah, I do think it's something we'll see more of as we go forward. Next question from Derek at the Orange Arrow. How can the Bengals implement more motion into this offense and still keep Burrow healthy? And I think the premise here of the question is when Burrow doesn't like a lot of motion. He likes to dissect defenses like a static picture so the defense will stop moving and you can say, okay, I know what they're playing. I know which guy I got to go to and when I got to go to him. And Brian Callahan backed this up as well a couple weeks ago, talking to the media, saying that it's fair to question if Burrow likes a lot of motion. What can they add? Well, what have they done already that it looks like the last couple of weeks is something they're starting to absorb? But we're going to call it cheat motion. Got this from Kyle Shanahan in his press conference the other day. As teams around the league are absorbing what the Dolphins are doing, they're running motion at an incredibly high rate. But the motion that they're really leaning into this year is when they're having a guy run in motion at the snap and they snap it while he's just about to cut up field. So you can't cut up field because that's a penalty. So they snap it here and he takes off. And the Bengals have been doing this the last 2 weeks. They've handful of plays, 5 to 10, 5 against the Rams, and then just a few against the Titans. The idea there is you get defenses to change their coverages or back out of their coverages, or you get easy reads, or you get the guy just a running head start. What else could you do out of it? Man, watch the Dolphins with it, and they're running with Tyreek Hill angle routes and flare outs, and not just goes and comebacks, but screens and things like that. So there is a lot you can do with it. I expect the Bengals will keep absorbing more and more as the rest of the league does as well. But how can you keep Burrow happy while you're doing that? You show them the benefits, right? Maybe it's slowing down the pass rush. Maybe it's giving you easy reads and clear reads, and every play doesn't have to be rocket surgery where you're dissecting everything the defense is doing, and you got to get to a certain point at a certain time, and you can be wrong. We'll give you some easy reads and take a little bit off your shoulders, and maybe help get some easier pass protection out of it. Speaking of pass protection, the next question is here from Carl Alberger, and he brings back the Paul Alexander days where the interior of the offensive line was seemingly in Andy Dalton's lap, almost setting up there and pass protecting there. And he notices they're doing it again. What has changed? And if you don't know what he means here, and Carl, I'm going to draw this out real fast. If you've got an offensive line and the pocket is supposed to be like this, I'll get it out of the mic there. You would like the pocket to look like that, right? Doesn't always look like that. As lately, it looks like the Bengals tackles are here and the interior guys are more like this. And the quarterback's trying to throw from here. So what he would normally throw with a little bit extra room in there, he's got the guards and he's got the center right in his lap and he really can't get into it. And you wonder if they're teaching that and why you would do that. And a lot of times, if you do want to teach that, is because you may not know where the defense is coming from. If they're sending different blitzes and different stunts, if your guys are further back, or if your interior guys are further up, because up here the guards are up towards the line of scrimmage, the center's still up towards the line of scrimmage. If they're coming you won't always see them on stunts and twists, but if you're further back, you can see them and you can pass them off easier. So you may do that because you're not sure of what defenses are sending at you. You may also do that if you don't want to give such a big gap to the guards and the tackles. So if you were more like this and a normal protection, and the quarterback is in between, well, the defensive ends that are rushing your quarterback and going against the offensive tackles would have more of a two-way go against those tackles. So if you can bring those interior guys more closer to your tackles, well, then the edge rusher has to go around the outside more often. And we know that Jonah Williams isn't very good at the inside move and can get powered through. So they want the rusher to go around Jonah Williams. They want him to test them around the arc because Jonah's actually decent at that. So I think the opposite goes for Orlando Brown, where I'd rather have the guy try to go through Orlando Brown because he's so big. I think it could be mostly that they're just not really good with the stunts and twists, and the blitz is coming from different directions. They're going against a new defense is going to send a lot of crazy stuff versus the Browns. The Ravens send both linebackers a ton, and then the Titans do this a ton against the Bengals as well, and a lot of twists and studs up front. So let's see if it continues. They really didn't have that issue against the Rams, other than trying to give extra help to Donald. So there's times they did it. I think it is being taught to them or told, they're being coached to do it. Let's see if it continues. I'm not sure it will or will not. Next question from Parker Blake, my guy. Make sure you give him a follow too. He does a lot of offensive line evaluations. He asks, if you could add a good player to the offense or the defense, where would it be? And are there any schematic changes you'd like to see, or do you see it mostly being execution with the issues? Well, first, I would add a really good tight end to this team if I could. I think doing so would help break out the safeties off the cover two shells. I think you could take advantage of uh, splitting that guy out and getting coverages with a safety out there, with a linebacker out there. Maybe you get a corner on that tight end and you box them out and play big ball with them. They don't have that, right? Also, the run blocking. If he was a good run blocker, that'd be awesome. And that isn't always the case, but it can help. On defense, interior pass rusher, completely. That'd be it. I don't think Zach Carter is doing anything in year 2 so far. If anything, he may have regressed a little bit. I'm not excited there. And interior pass rush is so important in today's NFL. We see it killing the Bengals. Last question was just about that. And the Bengals just don't have a guy that can do it. And to my surprise, Hill and Reeder are doing fine. But you don't have that explosive penetrator that I think a lot of really good, a lot of teams that have won it lately have had. So it'd be nice to get one of those guys. But there are schematic changes that I'd like to see. We've gone over a couple of those already. I want to hit on the execution part, though, Parker. There is bad execution so far. So, like, we love as fans to just point at coaches, right? The coaches are doing this. The coaches are terrible. The coaches can't scheme things up. Some of that may be true. I'm not saying you can't say that. Say it. I don't care. But uh, are the players also executing at a high level in the way they did the previous years? They are not. You could see it just in the receivers, their body language, T double catching things. Jamar's double catching things. The routes aren't as crisp. They're not as aggressive. They're not as tight as you would like to see them. Some of it is I don't know if that play call was called that way or if a guy ran the route poorly, and it happens. And so, do I think they're executing to their full extent? No, I don't. I think quarterback has a big factor in how everyone executes offense, defense, and special teams. He's not even out there, and the defense will play better when you score points on offense. So, goes hand in hand. The scheme needs to help the players need to help the scheme. That's how football wins, right, Parker? You know that. Next question from Haysack. It's got to be Hacky Sack's cousin or something. If the Bengals end up with a top 5 pick, what do you think they do with it? Trade or whatever, or what position groups do you think they would target? Hey, we will have time to talk about this. Even asking draft questions this early is sacrilegious, but I will answer it because you asked it. But I don't, too easy or too hard. Yeah, it is too hard to even say would they trade or not. We don't know. We don't know what's, the whole situation. But I mentioned tight end, I mentioned defensive tackle just in Parker's question here. So this kind of goes right into that. I would love either one of those guys. Do you spend a top 5, top 10 pick on tight end? We'll have to see. I mean, Laporta in the top of round 2, because you'd have a top of round 2 pick too, wouldn't you? I'll take that. Or a stud offensive lineman. I mean, there's going to be a lot of them this year too. So who wouldn't take that at right tackle and really just beef up this offensive line? Get an athletic guy, please. That'd be awesome. But the conversation of getting a top 5 to 10 pick, if it happens sometimes with contending teams where they end up back because of injuries. The 49ers with Nick Bosa, right? It happens once in a while, and you take advantage of it if it happens. But we're not there yet. We're not going to talk about that just yet. We got a few more questions to go through today. Next question is from Real Brad, and then we'll jump into Governor Chief has a question that goes very similar to this. Real Brad asks, if T is out, will it be a combo of Irwin or Yoshivash? What do you see there? And Governor, who are you taking for anytime touchdown? Yoshi? Well, I do think it'll be a rotation at that spot. Yeah, between Irwin and Yoshivash. I think we saw it at the end of the Titans game. They were doing that. It seemed like a 50-50 split, give or take. Definitely get more speed, I think, downfield with Yoshi. I think you get the more trust and consistency with Burrow out of Trenton Irwin. I kind of want to see Yoshi get that and get more reps and see what he could look like. To Governor's question, if you're going anytime touchdown for anyone, yeah, the odds may pay out on a Yoshi if you can even find that bet. Otherwise, give me Joe Mixon. I feel like this is a game where if they're not going to lean on him now, when are you going to? And if they get down there, if their last couple of weeks the way they've been running it near the goal line, I'm going with Joe Mixon for that one. Next question's from my guy Wes Harrison. Wes, who works at First Star Logistics, so he's a good dude. But he asks, who would I start at quarterback? Do I have any opinions on it? Would they be better with Browning or AJ McCarron? Better than 1 and 3? It is the topic of the week, I guess. People wondering, could you have been any worse if you started those guys? Hard to say you would have been, right? Because this is as bad as it could possibly be. Maybe you'd have more turnovers. Maybe you'd be getting embarrassed a little bit more. Maybe you'd be 0-4. But remember, McCarron, a lot of people just instantly, McCarron's got to play. There's a reason he was brought on and put on the practice squad. Reed Sinnett, if you remember, was brought back right before McCarron. They signed both that same week, put them both on the practice squad. Why? Because Sinnett knew the offense from the summer. McCarron obviously didn't. Now that McCarron's getting close to knowing it, or if they feel comfortable, they cut Reed Sinnett this week. So that tells you that McCarron's on the right path. Is he ready to go right now? No way of knowing from the outside. But it's a good sign they cut Sinnett, because now McCarron, if he's got to be the emergency third guy, they feel comfortable enough that he can do that. Any more than that, I don't know. Browning, on the other hand, maybe they would have leaned on the run game. Maybe everyone would have played differently. It kind of seemed like everyone's waiting for Burrow to save them, as he's done so many times in the past. So everyone's kind of waiting around for it. Maybe they wouldn't have if Browning's out there. Maybe, these guys would have had bigger games, or maybe that would have been like, man, Browning stinks. What are we doing out here? And you'd kill all morale of the team. So it is hard to say. I would start Joe Burrow if, number one, he looks good in practice and tells me he can do it. Joe Burrow looks you in the eyes and says, I can do it. You don't want that? Here's the other part, too. I've talked about this when people have asked. In the years past, they said, should the Bengals have taken Justin Herbert or something like, should they, he's got the higher upside, whatever. Remember, we wanted Joe Burrow in Cincinnati because whatever the funk was with the Bengals that they couldn't get over the top, they didn't have that killer attitude, they didn't have that mindset, whatever it was. We wanted Burrow to go in there and change it. You draft Justin Herbert, and he's got the Andy Dalton mindset. He just conforms to the Bengals. Still a good player, but is he ever that dude? So far, Herbert hasn't been. And Burrow's been that guy to change the entire organization. So now you want to tell Burrow that when he's like, and he's still a maniac, he still doesn't want to listen to what the Bengals are probably telling him, and he still wants to go out there and play and prove it. Now you're going to tell him no? This is what we drafted. This was what we wanted. We wanted the guy that said no, that would say, no, Bengals, this is what we're doing. And he's doing it. And they stink. But, if he was really good, wouldn't it'd be a non-story? Or maybe it'd be a story later of like, man, this dude played through this because he's played through a bunch of injuries before. So let's get to the final run of questions. Thanks for reaching out, Wes. Good to see you again. Next one from Jessica. Were we cursed by the Gold Star Chili for switching the skyline? And question number 2, how do we break the curse? Okay, you guys are going to get goofy on this one? Maybe. No, I don't. Maybe. You eat more skyline. That's the only way to do it, right? Or do you eat more Gold Star to break the curse? I don't know. From the Bengalorian, why on earth does Ash Ketchum never age? Oh, well, first of all, he's not on Earth, right? These are all fictional locations, or not fictional, in another universe, different Earth, different planet. Maybe age and time work differently, as he's been around for 30 years now, and he's still perpetually a teenager. But to his credit, he never stopped until he was champion, and then he retired. Which that's kind of like the John Elway version of football quarterbacking. Do it forever. Still a kid at heart, win it at the end, and retire. Let's not have to wait that long for our league championship. All right, that has been Bengals on the Brain, episode 22, presented by First Star Logistics. Make sure you get into those contests. Yeah, I was aggressive there. I'm sorry. Get into them. Win them for me. Win them for me. Not to give them to me, just like through me. I want to live through you as you win these awesome prizes. Bengals go to Arizona. Got to get a win. Desperate. Backs against the wall. I like this team in those situations. This team, we'll have to find out. I like the Bengals 23-20. Yeah, another close one because that's how they roll. Getting back together, getting it correct, getting it right, and bringing home the victory before they take on the Seahawks next week. Do or die, now or never. Till next time.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.